Welcome to Baseball Biz on Deck. I am Mark Carvin, and with me, of course, is Mr. Matt Germain. And joining us today is Mr. Brent Cardy of The Cardy Show. Hey, Brent, how you doing, man?
Corby, Matt, thank you so much for having me. Great to see you guys. Great to talk some baseball.
Absolutely. You know, I have the great fortune of living down here in the wonderful world of Florida. But, you know, the best thing about it is spring training. And my gosh, you know, going over to Dunedin and seeing what's going on with the Blue Jays. I missed my trip the other day, but my gosh, whole lot of fun, whole lot of excitement. And you guys got a lot to answer for.
Oh.
No, I'm going to give you a little grief, you know, looking at the AL East. Earlier today, Matt and I had a chance to talk with Nat Gordo, who is a podcaster for the Boston Red Sox Play Tessie. And we had some questions. We had some questions about the Toronto Blue Jays. So we'll ask you some of that.
Perfect.
Matt, is there anything you want to start with before I just start rolling down the road? Is there any nuggets that you want to address?
I just have one. Do you miss Alex Anthopoulos?
Every day, every freaking day. I mean, it's just it's been something different, right? Like obviously Anthopoulos and Beeston. I mean, I would say more Beeston than Anthopoulos because Ross Atkins is just a face, right? He just says words. You know, it's really Mark Shapiro making the decisions with Rogers at the end of the day. It's you know, when Beeston was there, you got a little more clarity. You know, you always felt like Beeston was a common man. He wasn't talking down to you. Every time Mark Shapiro gets in front of somebody, it just feels like, you know, the arrogance just comes off, right? It's insane. You can kind of see the same about Ross, but I think Ross is in a tough spot, right? Like, there's only 30 general managers' jobs across baseball, and he's going to do what he's told. He's going to go out and spin a story about, you know, what he did or didn't do. Anthopoulos and Beeston were different, though. You know, they could relate to the fan. They relate to the fans, sorry. They could relate easier to the media. They were just more well liked, right? So, sorry, long story short, yes, Matt, I miss Alex Anthopoulos every day.
And the reason I ask is mostly about Vladdy, right? I think we would all agree that if Alex Anthopoulos had stuck around, he would have locked up Vladdy a long time ago, before he got extremely pricey. And
Yeah.
I think he would have made that the focus so that he can bring others aboard like he has done in Atlanta. That's his sort of, you know, his mode of operation, and I think it's the right way to go about it, regardless of whether or not you're stuck to a budget or not. And it's funny because you talk about the Blue Jays, and this offseason, nobody, I don't think, considers them a winner of the offseason, yet they're scheduled to be above the luxury tax at the moment. So what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, it's interesting you bring up Anthopoulos, right? I mean, you look at all the deals he signed from Strider, especially Matt Wilson. That Matt Wilson deal, remember, he let Freeman walk. And that, you know, that was just a thing of beauty, right? This team is, I think, just under, or maybe they're just over the second luxury tax of all the stuff. And $7 million of that is from Miles Straw this season, which is insane, right? Like, that was the Sasaki thing. Everybody, I don't know if everybody, I feel Ross felt he had Sasaki. I don't know why. I think we all thought, you know, most people thought he was going to the Dodgers, you know, to play with the Yamamoto and Ohtani. Like, that makes a lot of sense. But man, to be $271 in payroll, and I don't know if you remember, Matt, the JP Ricciardi era, but man, he would have, Jeff Blair always says this, he would have walked naked across glass to have the payroll that the Blue Jays have today. And just to see the way it's being spent, to have the conversations about Vladdy and Bo, to not have them sign and have this high of a payroll is just mind-boggling at the end of the day. You know, there's nothing to show for it. And meaningful games in September and $270 million payroll, to me, just doesn't add up. And I think it goes to show, we're in 2025 now. Mark Shapiro does not have an extension to this point. Ross Atkins, you would have to assume, if the Blue Jays don't make any progress this year, he'll be gone as well. I mean, so there may be a light at the end of the tunnel, but that being said, you trade Guerrero, you trade Bichette at the deadline. If this team's out of it, there's going to be some hard times ahead.
I think what I'm looking at this, because you're talking about the pocketbook and looking at the payroll tracker on Sport Track. When I look at the top five, I mean, I'm looking at Dodgers, Mets, Phillies, Yankees, but I did not anticipate seeing that the fifth one was going to be the Toronto Blue Jays with, spending 232 million. And behind you guys, it's the Rangers and then Astros, Atlanta, and the Padres. Just kind of give you a sense. But I get the sense of, you all feel comfortable that you have the funds to get a team. But
Yeah.
so what guidance would you give the front office right now as far as saying, hey, you got this big bucket of money, use it properly. Here's what we the fans see as how it should be used.
See, Corby, it's hard because is there going to be a luxury tax in 2027? That's the other question, right? We don't know.
True.
Will there be a salary floor and a salary cap? Will the luxury tax be gone? So if you have a salary cap and you have 55 million a year, allocated to Vladimir Guerrero Jr.,
Yeah.
well, what happens then, right? Who can you surround Vladdy with? That's the other question. So unfortunately, as Matt kind of alluded to, if Alex Anthopoulos was here, this would have been done after 2020.
Yeah.
There would have been some sort of 7 or 8 year deal, buying out the arbitration years, buying out the free agent years. But here we go. They painted themselves into a corner. And here's the other part. If your ownership for Rogers, you put $300 million into the stadium, obviously you want to see some more people come out. You want to see the stadium full. You want to get your return on investment. So yeah, you have the money, but what's going to happen? Rogers should not have gone into the season with a lame duck president, a lame duck general manager, and a lame duck manager. What a mistake. So they're going to have to figure out what they want to do going forward. They had the funds. Do they want to spend the funds? There's a lot of unknowns. It's an interesting year, to say the least.
Yeah. The other problem that I see with the Blue Jays is twofold: age and poor system. When
Yep.
you have a really old roster, like the oldest rotation by far in Major League Baseball, a lot of star players like George Springer and others that are getting longer in the tooth. And then you combine that with a really weak system. It's not a recipe for success. I mean, you can only trade off so many pieces in season. Let's say the Jays are in contention this year, and there is the chance that they would be.
Sure.
Then what do you have to increase at the deadline? Like then you're selling more, and there's a good chance that by the end of the season, you could have Gausman out, you could have Scherzer out, you could have who's the other Bassitt.
Bassitt, Rios, yeah.
So I mean, you have a lot of these aging pitchers that could end up being not really in the forefront of 2026. So it is sort of this 1 year go for it, kind of prove it or lose it sort of feeling that I get with the Blue Jays.
I agree. And I mean, you can look at Jimmy Garcia's contract. It's kind of the same one that Isaiah Kiner-Falefa signed last year. Now we're talking about two different players, but exactly the same amount of money, exactly the same contract structure. It's two years, 15 million. You can't tell me there's a team that wouldn't pick up Garcia if the Jays are out at the deadline and buys the extra year and a half, right? Same with Scherzer. Obviously, he's got a no trade clause, but I mean, obviously, if you offer the Dodgers Max Scherzer going to say no? Definitely not. So, I mean, you have the assets to move if it doesn't work out. But to your point, Matt, you're absolutely right. They could play those meaningful games in September and go into 2026 with absolutely nothing to show for it. Like you said, Bassitt, Guerrero, Bichette, all could be gone. Who else gets moved in the offseason? If you have a new general manager, what if he wants to tear it down? Then what, right? Like I said, a lot of unknown. And here's the other problem. For a long time, Atkins and Shapiro would always say, we're contenders. We want to, build championship teams. We want to have that depth, right? They'd always kind of put themselves up here when really they're in the middle. They're in that murky middle, where you do not want to be in this game. Now it's kind of, pardon my language, Corby, can I swear?
Please do.
Shit or get off the pot, right? You have to shit or get off the pot and make a decision. Are you going to rebuild this system that is 23rd, 24th in baseball? Or are you going to sign guys? And are you going to add around those Vladdy and Bo's? Are you going to make an actual attempt with the funds that you have?
That's
Decisions have to be made.
That's what makes the offseason so baffling. Like, I look at what the Yankees did in terms of who they targeted as making way more sense than what the Blue Jays did. Even the Yankees said, we're probably out of Juan Soto, so we're going to go after like a trio, a quintuplet, whatever you want to call it, of guys that are
Mhm.
going to make us deeper and better because we spread it around. The Jays seem to be all in the basket of, we throw all the money in these guys, and if they don't come, then we're done. Like, we're not looking at anything else. And I don't understand that aspect of it. It's really strange. It almost seems like they didn't want to go there. They really didn't want to land Otani. They really didn't want to land Soto. They just wanted to look good, as in making an attempt to kind of dive into that pool.
That's right. Because then they can say, oh, no, we tried really hard.
Yeah, but
That's
that only plays for so long. I mean, fans say after a while, it seems like it's more of a strategy of trying to say, yeah, we tried. And fans are gonna get tired of that.
Oh, they're already tired of Mark. They are already fed up with those two. It is not even funny. They were done with them after the 2023 playoffs and that whole Jose Brios fiasco.
Yeah.
Like, they are done, Shapiro and Atkins. It just keeps. I'm surprised they walked into 2025. I'm surprised they walked into Denis.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know what Edward Rogers is thinking.
Yeah, so let's talk some positive. So in spring training, we talked, today about some guys that have come in, like for the Rays, Curtis Mead, blowing the doors off of things. He looks great. He's hitting everything. He's looking strong defensively, really surprising and opening up a lot of eyes. Is there somebody in the Jays camp that is doing the same?
Yes, there are a couple guys I want to highlight. Alan Roden would be one of them. He is a corner outfielder. He's played a couple months in AAA. My buddy, my pal Doug Fox from the old Future Blue Jays website. I don't know if you guys have checked that out. He does great work. He's interviewed Alan Roden's parents, and I believe they are Harvard professors. Don't quote me on it, but they are very smart. This guy is very smart as well. I believe he would have been a physicist if he wasn't playing baseball. And no joke, very smart guy. He's dropped his elbow a bit. He's made more contact with the ball. He's got speed. He can actually play all three outfield positions. So I think he will be a factor. Maybe not to start the year, but May, June, would not be surprised to see him at least get at bats against right-handers in the big clubs. There's on road. Alejandro Kirky, everybody's favorite catcher, one of the best framers in baseball, is trimmed down. He looks great. He's getting the barrel through the zone very quickly. He's going to probably be catching 110, 115 games this year, but it looks like he's worked very hard to be able to handle that. Elvis Martinez is another guy that's prospect people like to talk about. Obviously, Ralvis got suspended last year with PEDs, and we're going to see Ralvis maybe get some time at third, maybe get some time at second, but will the bat carry? And so far it has in spring training. Of course, it's February 26th as we record this, so there's about a good month left of spring training. Maybe he starts in Buffalo. It depends what Ernie Clement and Will Wagner do. But Martinez is intriguing because of the power. He's had the most home runs in the minor leagues for the past 3 seasons, right? So those are a couple guys. I mean, if you're a Blue Jays fan, you're watching and you're watching very closely.
Yeah, one guy that I think that you guys will end up liking a lot. Like he's somebody. So the Red Sox issue last year was they weren't athletic enough, and I think the A's fall a little bit into that, especially when Bo Bichette isn't on the field. The athleticism just wasn't as elite. Some guys here and some of them work really hard, and you can tell they're putting it all on the field. It's great. Varsho falls into that category.
Absolutely.
But he can't be the only one, right? So Jonathan Clase is the one that I would point out that you guys acquired, I think, last year.
Last year, yeah, for Jimmy Garcia, actually.
Right, exactly. So he's one of those guys that I think to keep an eye on because, I mean, he's a guy who could steal 30, 40 bases if he gets enough playing time, has enough power that it plays. How much hitting, the hit tool comes through in Major League Baseball, that's the big question. But I think that the Jays do have a few of those that are, you could call MLB ready, that are able to chip in. It's just the pressure, how much do they, hit right away, and then how much back and forth do they do. But the Rays acquired or signed, a catcher for the first time that you guys had for quite a while. So
Oh
what
man,
tell us about what to expect in Danny Jansen?
I was really looking forward to this question, so thank you for asking it. So Jano is a guy that Rays fans are going to love if he's healthy. You're going to love him if he's not healthy, but you're really going to love him if he is healthy. Very good with the pitching staff, number one. And you guys have a phenomenal pitching staff when you're healthy. Clanahan, to all those guys, right? Bradley's still with you guys. I mean, when you guys are healthy, you're going to be very good. Jansen is clutch, man. He's got that sweet, easy swing if he's pulling the ball to left field. I mean, if you need an eighth inning home run to put you ahead, he is your guy. He's missed. He's going to be missed by Jays fans. I mean, I talked about Kirk earlier, trimming down, looking great, but there's just something about him. And everybody loves him in the clubhouse. Media, nobody has a bad thing to say about him. The only knock on him, you can't really control their. Now, I believe that Tampa Bay has enough smart people in their organization to help them work on that. So that'll be interesting. But the important thing for Jano is to stay healthy. He is one of those guys to root for, even if he's playing for the Rays. Just a good man, and he is dearly missed for sure.
That's great to hear. I want to know if you can stay hydrated because the Rays are going to be playing in some warm stadium weather.
I know. How's that going to work, Corby? I mean, outdoor stadium in Florida all year long.
Mark's going to go to every game, he said.
Yeah.
Behind home plate, eh?
Jeez, I'm bringing my umbrella with me and one of those little spray water fans and a couple of gallons of Gatorade on my back. Yeah, that should be okay.
Make sure your
sunscreen,
buddy.
Make sure what?
Your umbrella is grounded.
Oh, that's right. Good Lord. I mean, now you want to hear something funny? That about 4 blocks away from there, where my son went to high school, it is supposed to be the lightning capital of the Northern Hemisphere. There was a street corner. It's like Hillsboro and something. I forget what it is, but it's like a mile away from where this is going to be taking place. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I can't wait. I mean, it looks like. I mean, the Trop looks like an umbrella that's just been shredded. Was what it looked like when I went over a few months ago after the whole disaster. But the team playing in this kind of heat, MLB was kind enough to try to put more of the season at home toward the first of the year, and so that later on there won't be as many August games and such. I couldn't tell you the exact metrics on that, Brent, but they are trying to make some kind of accommodations. One last thing I'll say that I got a friend who's worked with the team and I did years ago as a fan host. I think this year he's going to take a hiatus as somebody working with the Rays out there. So
not to hijack things, Mark, but do you think attendance will be better?
I don't know. I mean, the one thing we complain the one thing we complain about the most is the proximity to the most amount of people. And you have to go across a bridge, and it's a lot less than you got it here. Yeah, it'll certainly increase the fans that are going to be coming. There's no doubt. But the thing of it is, even at what is it? I think capacity, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's around 15 or 16,000 tops. Right. So, the Rays did actually hit 15 or 16,000 some days and more.
So what I would say is it'll be more consistent, right? I think the Rays averaged the way they did, as Mark said, because for the first, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but the first series of the year, or when the Yankees come to town, they opened up the top portions of the Trop, and they're able to get to 25,000. So that boosts the numbers up. So what'll happen this year, I think, is you'll see it more consistently full. The intriguing part, and I've said this to Mark, like I'm wide open about this. The Rays should take over that field and that stadium area, and that should be where they plant their next stadium. It should not be in St. Petersburg. It should not be in Ybor. Just use that. There's no reason to have an A team in Tampa when the Tampa Bay Rays play in St. Pete. It doesn't make any sense logistically or people wise. So I would move the Yankees over to St. Petersburg either at Al Lang or at the, Chop site, whatever they want to do. And then I would have the Rays take over the George Steinbrenner Field and set up shop there. I think that's the long-term solution if they stick around in the area. Nobody wants to hear it, but I think that's the way it should go. If the politicians in Tampa weren't such big Yankees fans,
Oh,
I think it would have happened a long time ago.
yeah.
Well, it makes sense because Raymond James Stadium is right there. So why wouldn't you do that? Ford Field, Comerica Park in Detroit. Like that's a perfect example.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, and Brent, if you were down here, you would see that where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play, the Yankees, George Steinbrenner Field is virtually across the street from them. So this is it. People know where to come to this place. So that's going to be there. Of course, I can tell you when I've gone in the past to see the Yankees during spring training, traffic getting in there was a beast. It still seems rather, it all winnows down to seem like one or two little lanes to get in there. And that's just me being a pain and crying boo hoo hoo. But there'll be, I think it's going to be exciting to see as many fans in there that you will this year. There's no doubt about it. Hey, not to go too far off on this, but had, Matt, had you hear what this is? JP Peterson talking about some new buyers for the team? The
No,
Rays?
I did not hear that. This is
No.
new. Oh,
Yeah, I don't know. I'll dig it up. That's
Montreal?
really, but I don't know. He's on Brody Brazil as well as JP Peterson. Both of them are just kind of skipping over, not really saying any meat and potatoes, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. Now, Brent, I didn't mean, go ahead.
I'll have to look it up. But the Jays ownership issue, like, who do you think they're gonna go for? Let's say that the leadership falls astray and they get replaced. Is there anybody kind of in mind in terms of the Jays fans? Because I know this gets talked about quite a bit once it becomes an issue, that's in the forefront of their minds that they would like to see as GM, once the change is made.
You know, my wife actually asked me the same question, Matt.
Mhm.
I didn't have a good answer for her, but now I'm thinking about it. What about Theo Epstein? Yeah, I have a buddy that owns a watch shop around here, and he keeps going, well, Theo Epstein, he's got to be the guy that, come out of retirement and help the Blue Jays and, leave Major League Baseball. Maybe it's Theo Epstein if Rogers wants to pay him. As far as a general manager, pick your poison, but at the end of the day, it just seems like the presidents nowadays call the shots, right? You look at Friedman with the Dodgers. Obviously, Cashman with the Yankees is the exception because he's done it for years, right? So I'm thinking it's good. Theo Epstein would be it, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know too many people out there, too many great general managers, unless you call Anthopoulos back and say, hey, do you want to be president? I mean, that'd be cool. But it's a weird market right now. I can't explain it.
Because I asked because the Rays have a unique situation where they're actually allowing four people to be assistant GM and they have no GM. And Eric Neander has actually assumed the overall role of guiding these four
Perfect example.
assistant GMs until they decide that one is the front runner and needs to be, named a GM.
It's like
So
GM Survivor.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think Carlos Rodriguez would have a good chance of winning that role, and he's the one that recruited a bunch of the Rays stars over in Latin America. But the the reason I also ask is because the Blue Jays, they tend to go back to the same horses. They go back to John Gibbons. They go back to Cito Gaston. They go back, like, they seem to always want to go back in time to when the glory days were or when their better days were. So
I was gonna say Beeston. Yeah, bring back Paul Beeston one more time. What's a third time? He's 78. He's got a couple good years left, right? Like, I mean, that's just what we do. I mean, if we need a hitting coach, we'll call Cito. He's 81 now, but
yeah.
you know what? He's still sharp as attack, and he looks great.
Yeah, there is a carousel as well of GMs that go around Major League Baseball. So you kind of, you see the same guys pop up here and there.
Oh
Theo
yeah.
Epstein is actually part owner of the Red Sox right now, so I'm not sure he could take on that role. So yeah, it's just an intriguing question. I do think there'll be a change.
Yes.
Get talked about more in season, but I think the Blue Jays renovations were a big hit last year.
They
and
were.
the
Yep.
fans did enjoy the stadium itself, and you have one. You have a stadium, so you're already well ahead of the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah. I mean, we're thankful for that. I mean, we do have a good ownership.
Right.
I mean, Rogers has been the owner of this team for 24 years now. There is a time, and Matt, I don't know if you remember. I mean, you saw the Expos go, but in the mid 90s, the Blue Jays were owned by a Belgian brewery after Labatt's, right? We didn't know if they were going to make it. We had 12 to 13,000 people showing up every game. I mean, there's some hard times there. There's dark times until Rogers came over. So I mean, we're in a good spot.
I actually wrote about the Blue Jays during the JP Ricciardi days, and I can tell you that I was pretty hard on them. and,
Yeah.
and when Alex Anthopoulos came and revamped the scouting system and made all the changes he did, it was like a breath of fresh air, which is why, you look at the ramp up of attendance over the course of the years that Alex Anthopoulos was there, he got them up above 3 million. I think it was 3.2 or 3.3 million the last year he was there or the year after with the roster that he had built.
Yeah.
But when you get that many fans in the seats, you would think that you would get, the leeway to run the team as you want. And sometimes that doesn't turn out. The other beef that I kind of came to know over that span was that the Jays have never had the first overall pick ever
Yeah.
in their whole
That's right.
history. 48 years, never had the first overall pick.
I-
So now, like, let's say you do have a down year in some way, shape, or form, and you win the lottery and you get to pick first, sort of like what the Cleveland Guardians did there recently. So,
Yeah.
is that something that you foresee as a possibility if the Jays do fall off and they have a sell off and you think that they can actually, for the first time in their history, bring in a star that they can control using the draft and not the international market. It would be the first time ever, I think.
It would be. Even 77, they didn't get the first pick. Even
No.
78, 79. 79 is a terrible team, by the way. But man, I'm okay with that. I do foresee it. I just hope there's somebody that is not Ross Atkins driving the bus. I do think there's got to be a different scouting staff too. I know they made some changes during the offseason to that. And it's all about the process and calibration and khakis and all that, right? But it's about somebody else running the show. So somebody else's team, I'm okay with it. But if it's Ross Atkins, keep, not getting the one pick because they'll screw it up. He just will. And that's just how we feel, Toronto. All of us.
In terms of the product on the field this year, who are you most excited about that they brought in from other sources, whether it's free agency or trade?
I'm really excited to watch Andres Jimenez play second base. I mean, this guy was an all-star. His WAR was 5. He's projected for about a 4 WAR this year. Solid player, I think. He is durable too. You get 152 games last year, I think. So I think that's going to be fun to watch. I'm excited for Scherzer. I mean, I watched his first spring start. I know he's 40. I get that, but I mean, his stuff did look really good yesterday. And if he's healthy, hell, let's see what happens, right?
Yeah, what he pitched 2 innings and 4 strikeouts. That's pretty good.
It is, right? You can't complain about that. And then from a bullpen piece, I know he failed a couple medicals, but what about Jeff Hoffman? What's that look like, in the back end? I'm excited. I don't have to watch poor Chad Green try and figure out his way out of the 9th inning this year. I mean, that guy kind of, got the shaft last year towards the end, but I like Chad Green in the 7th or 8th. I'm good with that. Garcia was solid to bring him back in the 8th or 9th. And we got Kevin Kiermaier as an outfield coach. How about that? Tampa Bay Ray legend. So, and we got Yarbrough back. So I'm excited for that.
Yep. I was telling Mark before this happened, I think it was the week before, I was telling him that the Rays should do the same thing with him and Evan Longoria.
Oh, yeah. He's out there, right?
As a bench coach or something like that, because I feel like Kevin Cash sometimes loses his way a little bit and needs to be a little bit better grounded. And so that would be nice to have Evan as part of the mix. Maybe it'll happen in the future. But yeah, you guys are lucky to have Kevin Kiermaier. The other guy that I want to ask you about, and because if he plays to his potential, he's an MVP candidate. And yet, Bo Bichette's stock, I don't think could be any lower than it is currently. I don't know if the concussion issues he's had in the past have resurfaced in some way, and he's not talking about it much. But in 2024, but he definitely wasn't himself. So, what do you foresee going forward in 2025?
I'm expecting a big year from him, to be honest. I feel that if he's healthy, he's gonna hit. The guy gets hits, right? How many years has he led the league in hits? So if he's healthy, he's gonna lead the league in hits. His defense is okay. I'm okay with him playing shortstop every day. I do feel that there's gonna be some days where he DHs. Will there be an IL stint or two? Sure. Slide Jimenez over, put Wagner at second. Bob's your uncle. But again, I mean, this team will not play meaningful games in September if Bo Bichette is not playing well, if he's not hitting the ball. And mark my words, if he's struggling, this team is as good as done. If he's going, then we're for sure going to play some meaningful games. Do we make the playoffs? There's no guarantee.
Mhm.
Who knows? I mean, obviously Tampa Bay is going to be better this year. Love the Ha-Seong Kim signing, by the way. A little bit jelly, not going to lie. Detroit, Kansas City, Cleveland. I mean, they're better this year. Minnesota, what are they going to be? We don't know. I mean, last year I didn't expect much, and look what happened. The West is kind of a toss-up. So lots to, again, I mean, it's my favorite word, lots of unknown, but it's 50-50. Bo's going to have a great year. Bo's going to have a bad year. We're about to find out. But I'm leaning towards he's going to have a good year.
The things that I noticed with him last year is that his bat speed was way down, which is why I say that it might be linked to concussion issues. Because usually, if you have, a headache is kind of you're not willing to swing as hard as you normally would.
Yeah.
It's sort of there's that pain at the end of it that just won't go away. So his ISO I think dropped below 100 last year. So I think you look at somebody that swings as hard as Bo usually does. That's not really normal that he has that kind of drop off. Now, having said that, his strikeout rates, walk rates, all that stuff is still the same. He's still a tough out. So he's not somebody that you want to face in their lineup. So like if he plays a lot, I think he makes the Blue Jays better regardless.
Yeah.
Because he is a good hitter. I just am curious to know, those concussion issues knocked Justin Morneau out a while ago, and they can be, pretty persistent once they start coming around again in a game like baseball, because there is a lot of jostling in everything that you do. People don't think of it as much as hockey, but a swing is violent.
Yeah.
When you fall down the ground and you turn and double play, that's violent. There's a lot of movements that happen in baseball where your brain is sort of like exposed a little bit in that way. Now, it could be other issues. I'm not a doctor and I haven't spoken to his doctors. I'm just saying what I know has happened with him in the past. And usually concussion issues tend to reach quite a bit. So it's a little bit of hearsay on my part, but I hope the best for him this year, and I want to see the best for Bo. I think that he has the potential to be a good player going forward for a lot of years. So that's all you want to see.
He's a
Yeah.
passionate player. I mean, he gives it. He gives it all, and that's another reason why you just don't want to see some physical impediment stall the energy and the passion that he has for the game. So I hope we see better as far as his health.
Absolutely.
I kind of turn it for a moment here. I did see something different. I'll leave that other thing alone. The one thing I saw is you guys had a very special bat boy the other day in spring training.
Oh, yeah, Chris Bassitt. He went 4-10 in fantasy, I guess. Yeah, I saw that. Tim Mesa had to do the same thing last year. Man, those fantasy football pools they're pretty competitive. I mean, you either get slapped or you have to be a bat boy. So
And he wore the score on the back of his jersey. It's like 4-11 or 4-10, whatever it was.
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh,
Tommy Pham, you're in a lot of trouble if you make the wrong trade. So you got
Could you imagine? Yeah, I mean, that's why the Jays haven't got Tommy Pham. They don't want him in their football pool, right?
yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, there'd be a little anger involved if things weren't going just so well. Wow. So kind of jump to something else, though. I know a lot of systems, they look to the future through their farm system. And earlier today, like I said, we had Nat Gordo on from Boston, and they're very fortunate. They have the top team as far as evaluating the farm system with by Baseball America. And I know a lot of other teams having some challenges. What do you see for the farm team for the Blue Jays for the future?
Well, this year, I mean, they have some outfield depth. Matt brought up Jonathan Clase earlier. I mean, so I imagine the Class A starts in Buffalo, and the Jays have options. Whether they start Alan Roden there, Addison Barger, do you put David Schneider down there to
Hmm.
get him going? As far as guys, we're talking about Vancouver and New Hampshire. Well, there's Kendry. There's a couple pitchers. I mean, there's Kendrys Rojas that's there. They brought back Adam Kloffenstein, but the Jays, just like everybody else in baseball, have been decimated by pitching injuries, right? Ricky Tiedemann's out for the year. Manoah's out till probably the summer.
Hmm.
Chad Dallas is another guy that people, I want to say had high hopes for, but, he was going to be a respectable piece in a rotation at some point. He ain't going to be around for a bit. So the pitching's kind of decimated. Offensively, the outfield has some depth. They got Josh Kasevich, I have to pronounce his name up the middle, playing shortstop as well. So what's he going to do? So they do have a few pieces. That's why they're 24th. RJ Schreck comes over in the Justin Turner trade. You mentioned Boston. They get Carter Coffey, Edison Paulino as well. I mean, there's a couple more guys. So they got the pieces. Sorry, I've been battling the cold. From the trades from last year to kind of bump them up. Maybe they move a couple of them. Maybe they stand pat. Maybe they don't. But there's still a lot of work to do, Mark. There's still a ton of work. Drafting still needs work. Amateur scouting, obviously, is Savage. What's he going to be this year? We don't know. A lot of work still needs to be done. There's a lot of work. So let's see what happens.
One guy you all mentioned earlier, but I think bears repeating, and that's Alejandro Kirk. But as
Yeah.
far as somebody who does a lot for that team. And I look at him as a career catcher in the sense that he's not going to be in there for 3 innings or 4 innings. He's going to be there for full games and probably a good portion of those for the entire year. I mean, what do you think? Over 162 games, you think he'll be there for like 130 of them?
I
Something like
think
that?
100, 115, 120 max.
Okay.
I mean,
And
they've got Heineman, they've got Betancourt to help them.
yeah, I
And
saw
maybe,
Heineman. I saw Hyman
yeah,
the other day. He was really looking good. I saw him fire one off over to second to get a guy out the other day. I said, "Yes, that's great." And I didn't realize Bethencourt's with you guys too, so he can be quite something on his good days.
yeah, no, that's right. So you got Heineman, you got Betancourt, we got Phil Clark as well. He's a guy that's kind of moved up in the system. So there's three guys to support Kirky. If he gets hurt, what do? Do you go out and get somebody? Well, then you got to take your farm system for 24th back to 29th. So
I
depends
don't
where you are at the deadline. Depends where you are if he gets hurt.
Yeah.
Right. But I think the point is more like Alejandro Kirk could be a 3 F4 player.
Sure.
In a walk year, Vladdy Guerrero could be a 7 or 8 WAR player. And Bo, if he's healthy and plays to his caliber, could be a 4 F4 player. So you're looking at 3 guys that could seriously elevate the season. And you mentioned Jimenez before. Like I like him as well, and he does have more offensive potential. I just don't know if it'll be insanely. Like most of his value is more defensive based than really as a hitter. But even if he does his job and he's just 110 WRC plus or 120, that's plenty. Like they don't need him to carry the load offensively. There is the potential. Like the ceiling for the Jays is high. It's just a matter of where is that floor and where is the mean. I do want to go back on the question that Mark asked you about though, in terms of the prospects. There's one guy that I own in all my leagues, is Kendry Rojas.
Yeah. Oh, he's good.
Yes, he's one of those guys that like the Rays had brought onto the roster Yaniel Corret for, who may see him this year. He's probably the guy that gets the most swing and miss. He's got the most life on his pitches. Kendry Rojas is that kind of pitcher where his slider and fastball are probably good enough to keep him alive in AAA and majors right now. And if he was in a relief role as a lefty, he could really do a lot of damage. So if they need to call him up early, because I think good chance he starts in AA. If he does really well, he could end up, getting a look at some point in 25, if they need him. But he's somebody that I'm really excited about for the Blue Jays and for my fantasy teams.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the stuff can still carry. I mean, imagine him in a relief role, right? Like that'd be something. I mean, multi-inning kind of guy, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Man, that'd be sweet. As a starter, right? Like that'd be. I guess we'll see after July, won't we?
Yeah.
That's the intrigue. Let's see what happens after the deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah, the health of every team is going to be measured by the All-Star break. You're looking at this and saying, who's still there? I mean, the Rays have had such challenges with that last couple of years, so many injuries. And this year, as far as the Rays go, it looks like we're going to have a healthy group of pitchers. So fingers crossed, whatever. But it's a challenge for every team, and you're only as good as your depth too. So I don't know. What is your anticipation for the Blue Jays this year with what you know? I mean, as far as how many wins, losses, if you had to put something up right now, would you expect?
Well, I just want to touch on your point of pitcher's health. I mean, we've been really lucky in the starting rotation with all the older guys, Bassitt, Gausman, Rios.
Sure.
They made 30 to 32 starts, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Bassitt a little bit less because he likes to have 8 days rest in between starts, but it's just ridiculous. But they're good. You can count on them to take the ball. But I'm curious to see what happens with Scherzer. Love what Bowden Francis did last year, man. I mean, that was fun baseball to watch. As far as wins and losses, and Mark, I would say 83 wins, 84. Few meaningful games in September.
Yeah.
I'd like to break 500. We didn't do that last year. We just one short, one short.
It's definitely a fair total to go with. I want to go there just because I think it's funny as a Canadian. But do you think the Blue Jays will wear a 51 on the side of their hats?
No. God, no. Oh, my Lord. What's that situation going to look like, too? The anthems before every game.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
Oh.
good Lord is right.
Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. Are there going to be 81 home games where there's booing going on at the beginning of each game?
Or 51 with a circle around it, and that would be more apropos, right? Like
Oh,
Yeah, no
gosh.
doubt.
Oh, no.
Terrible.
Oh, no.
Terrible. It's a
Yeah.
good question.
God grant wisdom and common sense to some people, please. Oh, my gosh, boys. I tell you. So it's always fun when we get together.
Yeah.
But any other fun stuff you can think about you want to talk about, Britt?
Oh, shit. Not really. I mean, the Red Sox are going to be good. The Dodgers are going to be great. Baseball needs expansion, especially if they're going to go into a salary cap. The fact that the NHL is the only league expanding is a shame.
Mhm.
More jobs equals more money.
Amen.
Why not Nashville? I mean, everybody talks about Montreal. I don't care where they are. You just need two teams somewhere right now. Whether it's Nashville, Charlotte, I don't know. Bring it back to Oakland. I don't care. You just need expansion right now. More guys need more work. I want to see some 110 lost teams on a regular basis. If you have a couple expansion teams, you'll get there. I want to see some 45-year-olds playing. Like, let's go. Enough of this stuff.
Rich Hill needs another shot. That's what you're saying. Rich Hill needs a home. Let's find Rich a
That's
home.
right. That's right. Rich he's going to be somebody's fifth starter at some point, right? That curveball, he can still spin that curveball.
It's life in itself. The Montreal situation to me is very interesting because they have an $890 million roof in a time a lot of teams can't get $890 million from locations where they have a team.
Yeah.
So the government's already shelled that out. They gave it a new roof. So how much would an internal reno, like in the Rogers Center, cost how much to renovate inside?
300 million.
There you go. So 300 million plus the fee to get a new franchise. That's it. So the government would probably give Bronfman interest-free loan to expand in Montreal, and there you go. They can steal Alex Anthopoulos away from the Braves, sign Vladdy Guerrero Jr., and Bob's your uncle. They're back in Montreal back long ago. Easy as that. Yeah, I've solved all the world's problems.
That's right. All the Expos fans are happy again, and then 5,000 people show up on a Wednesday, and it's all good. No big deal. No big deal.
Oh, kumbayas, baby, kumbaya.
What did Jeff Blair say about Olympic Stadium? He said if, whenever, whether the asteroid hits the Earth or we get nuked, Olympic Stadium is going to be the stadium that's still standing.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's the most expensive stadium ever built. So, I mean, the trucks going through there with cement and rocks and everything else and driving all the way around and then back through and getting counted as if they had offloaded, but they didn't. And then they go back through and then they go back through and then they go back through. It was ridiculous. Like they've showed videos of it. It's insane what they got away with in terms of the cost of that stadium. But anyway, I don't want to take it too far, the Montreal route, but I do agree expansion needs to happen. I don't think we have the right commissioner for it.
No.
But, hopefully it happens as soon as we get a new one.
That'd be great. We need it.
Amen. Amen. Well, guys, I tell you what, it's been another great week and love talking spring training, and still a lot of fun coming up this season. We'll see what these teams actually look like by the time of opening day, but there's a lot of, interesting players out there that we may not have seen otherwise and who wouldn't have had an opportunity, to be batting against Max Scherzer or who else. So I'm looking forward to the rest of it. I want to thank you guys. Are there any other parting words, Matt, that you'd like to share?
No, just, keep your head on a swivel with the whole tariffs things. I don't know if they're going to charge the Blue Jays more to go across the border every time. And I know for a fact they won't be able to send their radio announcer on the trip still with the team because, I mean, that's just going to break them if they did that, right? Like they can't afford that kind of cost. So, I wish the Blue Jays all the best. I think the season's going to be an interesting one in the AL East. It's going to be lots of storylines, lots of ups and downs, but it always is interesting. And really, I think we all need to be thankful that we are in the best division in baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Well said.
Hey, and Brent, the Cardy show, is that live and running? Or are you going to be coming opening day? What?
The Cardy show is semi-retired, Corey. I've shut down the social media for now. I mean, this world is just wild, so it's best if I just go out, live my life, do what I do, and just be a regular guy for a bit. So yeah, no, it's semi-retired. I'm working on a book. Let's see if I publish it in 2 years. I'll update you. But other than that, the Cardy show is still there for everybody to listen to. Semi-retired, so who knows? Who knows what the future brings? It's my favorite word, unknown. The unknown, Corey.
The unknown. Well, we're very grateful that you joined us here today, Brent. It's always a pleasure and a friend, and we thank you for that, my friend. So I wish you all the best and want to thank everybody for listening here today, and we'll talk again real soon.
Just a reminder, you can find Matt at matgermain.beastky social. That's at mattgermain.beastguy.social or Mark at baseballbizondeck.beastguy.social. You may also find Baseball Biz on Deck on iHeart, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and at baseballbizondeck.com. Special thanks to XTakeRUX for the music, Rocking Forward.